me today. I am going to talk about numbers, and I think this is why they put the session in the morning, because if they usually put it in the afternoon on a Friday, everyone heads to the pub. So I promise I'll try and make it as interesting as possible. I think numbers are one of the things that people do tend to neglect if it's not their forte. So I'm hoping to give you a little bit of an idea of how you can love your numbers, which will then help your board to love you as well. So my name is Stacey. I run a business, Healthy Business Finances, because I truly believe that every business, which includes not-for-profit and social enterprise, has to have a healthy relationship with their business numbers. So when I was thinking about today's presentation, I was trying to gain some insight as to how do I make it interesting and exciting. Normally I present to accounting people, so we don't have to put pretty pictures, or we put graphs and they get all excited. It's probably not the same. So I kind of went straight to the top and I thought, right, who's got some words of wisdom? I probably in hindsight went to the bottom because the advice that Melanie gave me wasn't very useful. So I haven't gone and copied someone's presentation or speech to give back to you today. I've created something that hopefully you will find of benefit in your business. I'm firstly going to cover off profit versus financial sustainability. And I know it's been mentioned a few times today that profit seems to be a bit of a naughty word. Whilst I love it, I refer to it as financial sustainability. You know, your business does need to make money and it does need to have cash flow coming in. It's all about being sustainable if you want your organisation to be around in 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time. Now, NFP today for me is going to be N for numbers nerd, F for financials, and P for processes. So that's some of the things that we're going to cover today. So a little bit about me. I can reel off qualifications and the number of years I've worked in accounting, and again, the people in the beanbags will probably start yawning. So I refer to myself in a little bit of a different way. So I refer to myself as an interpreter. So financial reports and numbers to me are a story, and I read those back to business owners and tell them what those numbers mean. Most of the times I work with creative people and numbers are like Japanese, they just don't make sense. So I have to interpret them in a different way so that they suddenly have meaning. I'm a bit of a strategist, so we're looking for financial goals and the long-term picture and how do we achieve those. I am a coach, so like most sports stars, they need someone on the sides to kind of give them that guidance and direction, and that's what we do with numbers. And I'm also not a technical psychologist, so please don't come up to me and ask me any pertinent private questions, but people come to me with massive roadblocks in terms of finances and numbers, and they really struggle with building the bridge to get over those blocks, whatever they are. So I really need to dig deep and work out, well, what's stopping you from running that report or understanding what that report is, because the report will never mean anything if we can't drill down to that kind of initial issue. So I call myself a time saver. I'm really all about processes and systems to help you get those goals in the most time efficient manner. Time is money, time is sanity, so we want to make sure we're doing it in the easiest and quickest way possible. I'm an advisor, so I do advise on numbers, GST, payroll, superannuation, all the boring stuff that I love. Numbers nerd, I own it, proud of it, I love it, it's what I do. And I'm a bit of a hand holder, so beware those that's sitting next to me. People come to me because they just don't understand and they need someone to really step them through the basics, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I really applaud people for having the courage to come and ask those questions. So let's get into it. Profit versus financial sustainability. I think it's a really big thing to understand with a not-for-profit, and I think people can get really caught up on the fact that starting a not-for-profit or a social enterprise, it's just a really easy option. From the outside, that's what people think you're doing. It doesn't matter if you make money, you can make a loss and everything's okay. And you kind of want to turn around and say to them, no, yes, we're a not-for-profit, but this is where the cash flow and the financial sustainability idea has to come into your head. So yes, you may not be making a profit because any donations or sponsorship or money coming in, it's going to be put towards a project. So for example, Thank You Group is a great example. I recently went and helped them pack their Chapter 1 books at Essendon Fields. And the reason they were selling those Chapter 1 books was to launch the baby range in New Zealand and also Australia. So yes, they were making money on the sale of the books, but they had that allocated to launch the baby nappies that they've now just recently launched this week, I think. So whilst the profit notion wasn't there, the financial sustainability is. They've got an idea that that money's going to be put towards, and they've already allocated it and how they're going to allocate it. So If you struggle with the not-for-profit and people say to you, it doesn't matter, no, it doesn't matter as such, but you're more looking for long-term cash flow. How are you going to get that cash flow coming in and how is it going to be allocated? And we look at 12 months. You know, we don't just look at this month, how have we gone this month? Whilst that's important, the next 11 months are just as important if you want that financial sustainability to continue. And it's all about teamwork. And I think we all know in any business, you're not going to be able to do it on your own. There'll be things that you're amazing at and things that you're extremely passionate about, and there'll be areas that perhaps you need a bit of a hand. And the sooner you can realise those areas and those gaps, and the quicker you can find someone to help in those areas, the better off you'll be. And what we tend to find is with social enterprise and not-for-profits, you've got an amazing idea, an amazing concept. Numbers are the last thing that you tend to think about because you're so caught up in how you're going to change things and how you're going to improve things that the numbers you hope will just happen and will just flow. So quite often it's an area we suggest to try and get help sooner rather than later. With that goal of financial sustainability, 20 years' time, we want to be bigger and better than what we are now. So in terms of N for numbers nerds, so thinking about who's on your team, when we think of a not-for-profit and a social enterprise, quite often you'll have monthly board meetings and you'll need to present your financial reports to the board, and it can be quite a nerve-wracking task to go to a board meeting with board members who don't work day to day in your business. So I sit on a board in Melbourne and I also work for another not-for-profit in Melbourne. So when we have those board meetings, you know, you've got potentially 6, 7, 8 people in the room who don't know anything that's happened day to day in your business, social enterprise, not-for-profit, for the past 30 days. And they're looking at a set of reports and they might ask you any question about any number on those reports and you have to be able to answer. If you don't know what those reports are telling you, how can you answer that back to the board and give them an idea about how the performance is going and whether you're spending money or receiving money in the right areas? So I'll never forget I filled in for a board meeting because the CEO was away one day and I'd looked at the numbers and I was so confident. I said, yep, you know, I understand donations, I understand accounts receivable, everything's amazing. And the first question someone asked was, why is bank charges negative $10? I was like, are you kidding me, $10? That's what you care about? Look at that donation amount, it's like 10,000. And they're like, well, you're gonna have to look into that. And I was mortified because I thought I had all the answers about all the big numbers that I thought they would care about. And $10 for me, I knew the answer, it was a refund of postage, blah, blah. But they didn't know that and they were concerned with $10. So don't get caught up with just understanding the big numbers. You will potentially need to understand everything on those reports that you're presenting. So whilst I talk about your team, you don't have to have a full-time accountant on board on payroll. You know, you might have someone on the board that sits in that has a financial background. You may have a consultant that you can call to do some training or education for either you or the board. There's lots of different ways in a financial setting to get the help that you need for a not-for-profit or social enterprise. So don't get caught up in the fact that, oh, I have to pay an accountant lots of money to have them on my team for the whole year. That's not necessarily the case. There's always help available. You just have to think outside the square as to what help you need, when you need it, and how you can find the right fit. Remember, it still needs to fit with the passions of your not-for-profit and social enterprise, and it needs to be someone that's going to be along that journey, hopefully with you, long term, and then you'll reap the rewards. So not all for numbers nerds are boring old accountants that carry a suitcase or a briefcase and that kind of thing. So there's plenty that you can find that will fit with what you're passionate about. Really wanted to emphasise this quote, and I searched Dr. Google and wanted to work out who said it. I thought it was Steve Jobs, but Dr. Google told me it was about 5,000 people have said this quote, so I don't really know who said it originally. But it's something to think about next time you have a board meeting or a staff meeting with your not-for-profit. Take a look around and see who's sitting with you. If you're the smartest man or woman in the room, then you're in the wrong room. You know, surround yourself with people who are going to have that knowledge and skills that perhaps you don't have. There's nothing wrong with that. So F is for financials, and this is where people start to yawn and think, oh my God, there's going to be graphs and numbers and things that I don't understand. So I'm going to break it down in a bit of a different way. Whilst I think financial reporting is one of the ultimate things that you need to have a grasp on, or someone in your organisation needs to have a grasp on, rather than looking at as just a big pile of numbers or a big long report or things like that, look at it in a different way. Whilst I understand numbers and a report would make sense to me, my clients don't understand the report unless we translate that into a language they understand. So for us, the financials tell a story, right? So we can all read a book, right? Your financial statements are a book. Each column or each month is a different chapter in your business life. So some months, you might have a bit of a romance and things are looking really good. And then the next month you have the heartbreak and the numbers kind of drop off. Those months are starting to give you a little bit of insight into your business. So you don't need to focus on which line is 4,723 and what does that mean. We just start to look at those chapters in your story, your financial story. So it's just another way to look at the same report in a different mindset to start to understand what it's telling you. So for us, numbers are a story, okay? It tells you trends. So we never run one monthly report at a time. We want to see what happened last month and we want to see what happened the month before. So we can start to see like a bit of a roller coaster. Ups, downs, which months are the big months, which months are the months we may be struggling, so that we can plan and prepare ahead. Now, we don't need to know and drill down into finite detail what that is, but I can identify large numbers, small numbers, okay? So that's what we're looking for in those trends. Then it will indicate, well, which numbers do I need to look into, rather than getting overwhelmed with the big picture and just kind of going, too hard, going to put it down, I'll look at it some other time and we never get back to it because we're really busy. We just need to identify those trends and see if there's something that we do need to investigate. So it shows you some insight. So by looking at those trends, we can identify something that perhaps doesn't quite look right. It doesn't mean we have to know the answer, it means we have to know where to look. So by looking at those insights, you might say, okay, fine, we spent $6,000 on marketing, whatever it is, our new launch, our new warehouse, our new product, our new service, our new offering. I would then want to see how is that relating to a return? Are our sales and donations increasing in the next 2 months after that massive spend? That's insightful information about the future and where you're going. It's all about balance though. So if we do spend that, $4,000 or $5,000 on marketing, where's the return? There needs to be another side. If we're spending the $4,000, the scales have gone down, right? We need something to balance those scales out. So if those donations haven't happened, or if the money hasn't come in, or sponsorship or grants, whatever it is that you're doing to receive funding, the question needs to be asked sooner rather than later why that's not happening. Perhaps we did the wrong advertising. That's okay, but I want to know now. I don't want to know that answer in 12 months' time. I want to know now so we don't make that same mistake again. Or if it worked, I want to know now so I can do it again. There's pros and cons of both. And it's about investing. It's about investing in the right system. Whilst I can whip you up some financial reporting, I'm probably guaranteed most people couldn't do that if they didn't love numbers and they didn't know what they were doing. So chances are you need some kind of system, whether it's an accounting system or a financial system, to help you out in that area. Going to a board meeting with some numbers written on the back of a napkin is probably not the impression that you want to give a board about how well you know the operations of your business. So a financial system is going to help you understand the reports, get accurate reports, and be able to give you reports at any point in time. So we don't just want them at the board meeting, we might want them today. That's okay, push a button, report spits out. It doesn't mean that you only run them once a month or once every 2 months. But it's about investing in the right systems, which I'm going to go into now. So when we talk about accounting systems or accounting programs to give you that financial data, we generally narrow it down into 3 different categories. So we have a category which we love, which pretty much does everything that you will probably ever need except actually run the business. We kind of have a middleman it does the job, it's okay, but maybe in 5 or 6 years you may need to rethink if that's the right platform. And we have a lot of options that are just not going to be right, but potentially you'll get sucked into those because they're free or lower cost, and you think that will help. So how we try and translate that is I could tell you thousands of names of software companies, but it's irrelevant because you would need to work out if that's what you need. So we talk about Hamish and Zoe, right? So Hamish Blake and Zoe Foster-Blake, they're in the spotlight, they're well known. We call these the premium ones. They're easy on the eye. What I mean by that is when you go to use the system, it's easy. It's interactive. It kind of works with you. It does some of the tasks for you. It streamlines some of the work. So we don't want to invest in any accounting software or programs that's going to make extra work for you, okay? And it's worth the investment. So it's not a cost, it's an investment in my financial information that I can give to my board, that I can give to my investors, that I can give to the people that are ultimately who we're asking money for. So the middle option we call Posh and Bex. So Posh and Bex, they're deluxe, let's face it, but they've been around a while and they're probably not as trustworthy as what we would like. So, and by that I mean, you know, it may have some downtime, you may need to do manual updates, and if you don't, things like payroll, superannuation rates may be wrong. It may be that once a week you can't access it because it's down or the server's down. So whilst it will work, long term it might not be the right choice. And you can kind of see where we're going here, right? So the next option we refer to is Kim and Kanye, okay? Don't go there, When you're talking about financial information and presenting it to a board or presenting it to investors and if you can't rely on the information and if you don't know it's accurate, the Kim and Kanye program, whatever that is useless. It doesn't matter if it's free. If it's a useless program, then it's useless, full stop. So really think about what you're investing in to get that financial information because we want it to be worthwhile. So the information that it should give you is all about knowledge. It's about understanding your business without having to delve down into receipts and paperwork and add things up manually and come to a board with a shopping bag full of papers and dump it on the table and go, this is July. And people go, oh, I don't really want to deal with that. By being able to just give everyone a set of reports 2 days before the board meeting, email it out, they can review it, and you're ready to go, it's an amazing feeling to walk into that meeting with kind of the upper hand. It's about predicting the future. So imagine having a budget set up with the next 12 months, knowing exactly where you're hoping the money will come in and what projects it's going to be spent on so that we know our cash flow and we know how much we're going to have put aside for those emergencies, or if we wanted to expand, hire staff, hire a warehouse, have a retail front, whatever it is that your vision is, that's going to be able to tell you whether or not you can do it or whether or not you can do it comfortably and when the right time will be. We want to make those decisions in an informed way. So I deal with a lot of business owners that literally wake up one day and go, I'm going to hire someone today. And I say, that's great. How did you come up with that decision? Oh, I'm just really busy. I say, have you done this whole numbers thing? No, it'll be fine. The answer is it won't be fine, and you'll just get yourself into a pickle, and trying to get yourself out of it will take months, and you just want to make the right decision at the right time and make sure that the cash flow is there to fund it. We want to plug the leaks, and quite often in business, we'll invest in something or we'll do something and it doesn't quite turn out how we want. And look, we've all made those mistakes, and as long as we learn from them and move on, that's okay, but we need to learn from them. So if we're not reviewing our numbers, how do we know that it was a mistake and how do we learn from it? So we want to plug the leaks before the ship sinks and not after the Titanic makes the news. Okay, so we want to do that in a timely manner. And we want to build and grow. I mean, we want to do different things. We want to evolve. We want to offer different products. Whatever it is that you're trying to do with your social enterprise or not-for-profit, it's going to grow. And we want to do that in a sustainable way. So in terms of the processes, there's so many things we can streamline in a business, not just the financial side, but a lot of things tie into the financial side. But before we choose a program, before we choose Hamish and Zoe and go, yeah, that's the best, that's amazing, we want to make sure that it will actually work, okay, and work for you. And your business is not the same as the person sitting next to you, and your needs will always differ. So I want you to think about how you're going to access a program. You know, does it need to be in different states? You know, do different people need to access it at different time? That may change the programs that you need. What do you need it to do? You know, is it just accounting? Do you need it to do payroll? Do you need it to do superannuation for staff? Do you need it to do budgeting? Do you need it to take care of paperwork? There's so many options. So really nut that out first. And who's going to use it? So not only the number of people, but their skill level. So whilst we've got those various kinds of programs, some of them are quite easy to use. So if you don't have a financial background, we'd want to steer towards those ones. And some of them are damn right difficult, you know. So regardless of the cost, if we're using a program we don't understand, it's not really streamlining anything. So it's not going to help long term. And I always bring it back to time is money. And I know we're talking not for profit, it's not for profit. So time is cash flow. Okay, if you're spending time away from, you know, generating donations, sponsorship and income and that cash flowing through, then is it worth the time you're spending doing whatever the task is? So, and it's also sanity. I don't want to sit there at the end of the tax year like I am now with some clients and they come to my house with a big box of papers and like, can you do my tax return? And I'm like, well, what the heck is in there? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, that's not ideal. So we don't want that. That's sanity. You know, nobody wants to be in that position. So we want to try and work out what the problems are and move through them. So this is just an example of some of the things that you can streamline for your business. Obviously, paperwork and receipts is a big one that we see. We see that the physical paper stresses a lot of people out. And they have in trays that are overflowing, and when that gets too high, they just move it to another pile. So this in tray now looks really good and they're all stress-free and it's amazing. And then they look over there and they're like, no, I'm just not going to look, because if I look at this in tray, then it's perfect. So we find the physical paperwork is a big deal breaker for some people. So if that's the case, we recommend an accounting software where you can scan a copy of the receipts, it uploads it as a PDF, and you always have a copy of your paper. File it in your filing cabinet. You don't need to look at it. If you need it, you can download a PDF. Oh, like the stress is gone. And it's such a simple thing that they've been hanging on to this pile of paper when they can just take a photo of it with their phone, it uploads to their program and it's done. But that's not everyone, so you need to work out what those pain points are. Superannuation is a big one if your organisation has staff. A lot of the accounting programs can just pay superannuation direct from the accounting program, so you don't need to go online and make a bank transfer. It'll take it from the accounting software. So really think about, in the past, if you had 20, 30 employees and you had to make 20 different EFT payments to different clearinghouses and super funds, could have taken, 2 or 3 hours. So now that can take literally 3 minutes to pay 20 or 30 people's superannuation. So some of these things may be important. It's about working out what is important to you and what can you streamline. And what do you need? So I think I probably get a question once a week, and it's, Stacey, what's the best software? And that's the entire question. My question back, and there's no answer, there's no magic answer. And I think people then go, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I can't give an answer without a little bit more information. Okay, so really think about, there's choice. Okay, there is hundreds of choice. So don't get hooked on the first one that you see or hear or that someone recommends. You really need to do a little bit of homework and ask for help from someone that has either used it or is in the same field. So, I mean, you're in a room full of people that operate in a similar manner. So there's lots of ideas and help as to what other people are using. Would I go and ask a fish and chip shop owner what they're using if I'm an accounting business? Probably not, because their needs are going to be a lot different. They're going to deal with stock, they're going to deal with inventory, they're going to deal a lot with cash, which I don't in my business. So it's about working out what would you help for your industry that you're in. It's not a popularity contest, and I see people throw out a lot of the big names at the moment, and I'm just going to sign up. And I said, that's nice, and then what are you going to do? I don't know, what do I do next? So yes, there's some amazing software out there, and I use quite a few, but not all of them are the right fit for what you need. So don't get caught up in the hype. Work out what's important. So for my business, I don't have inventory. So you could have the best inventory module in your software and I couldn't care less. So I don't get caught up in the inventory module, okay? I have payroll, so it needs to have payroll. I have GST, so that's important to me. I hate paper, so I need it to have an app where I can take a photo of the receipts. That's my list. make your list and work out what's on there, and feel free to come and have a chat to me if you don't know what can help you with that list. And one of the biggest things is to invest in training. So there's a lot of businesses out there that will offer you training and setup, and I can't emphasise how important that is to get it right from the start and not try and do it at 30 June after you've had 12 months worth of financial data and then go, doesn't look right, and then we have to wade back through 12 months. So if you can get a 2-hour session at the start and get set up, then the next 11 months should be a breeze for you in terms of streamlining things. So just briefly, the key takeaways, I want your aim to be financial sustainability. So whilst profit is there in the back of your mind, and not for profit, so a lot of people don't consider it, think about financial sustainability. You want to be here in however many years, and you want people to know that you're a fully functioning, amazing organisation that has legs and it's going to carry forward. So remember, N is your numbers nerd. So I don't tend to use the word accountant that much because it does make people uncomfortable. And people think, oh, accountants, they're boring, they're expensive, and they talk about tax all day and we're not going to get along. So I just go, find a numbers nerd, and whatever that means to you, then find someone that you gel with. F is for financial reporting, so it's so important to understand what those reports mean. P are the process, so what can you streamline and what do you need to streamline? And S is stay away from Kim and Kanye. So just keep that in the back of your mind, very important. So there you go. So does anyone have any questions about the numbers side of things, or quite often people are a little bit scared to ask questions?
No? Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time,
No
Stacey.
worries.